Now, we have, with all of this that's been going on with the election, and I mean, it's a lot that's going on in the world today. And so a lot of people that has been in dealing with religion and in the church now are looking more at metaphysics. And you hear people talk about raise your consciousness and things along those lines. And they don't know, specifically what we're talking about. Can you kind of give a little insight on that?
Certainly. I've been saying for nearly the last 40 years that the new religion is going to transcend the secularism that we have here in Christianity, Judaism, Islam. And people are going to want to find the crux of what each of them are founded on. And each of them are founded on what I call universal truths. There are universal truths that cannot be denied by any race, color, creed, anyone. And it is the foundation of that creed, which is a universal truth, that each one of the religions that are in contention with one another right now are about. The problem is that the priests who have the variable interpretations of the same thing, in order to maintain power, as you see with Creflo Dollar and all the rest of these people who enrich themselves on universal truths and just common sense being placed in the mouths of prophets and apostles and gods and demigods and so forth. These vicarious, what I call psychological puppets, who are being made to mouth universal truths, love thy neighbor as thyself, be good and not bad, and then you can expound on that to the nth degree, because human behavior is infinite in its different expressions. Metaphysics goes beyond you having to look for a God outside of yourself, but for search the God within, or that which we want to call God within. You are the vessel of that. You are one that becomes the representative avatar of God. And therefore, if God is all, and all is God, then there cannot be anything outside of God. Everything is God, no matter what it looks like to us, evil, good, whatever it is. It's man's interpretation of that love and how it is that man wants to use that love in its expression to other men that gives us that variable called good and evil. But all things have an adjustment in the greater scheme of things. Every action adjusts to balance. So if you're dealing metaphysically with what they call heaven and hell, or good and bad, or punishment and reward, you're dealing with variable energies that always must dovetail back to its original source. So metaphysically, if you act good and you put the good out there, no matter what comes back to you, since there is no life or death, as we see it, it's beyond life and death. It is all in the eternity and the continuance infinitely. Then what you're doing now is setting a standard for yourself and your own experiences and what you are in relationship to all of the living beings. And by your very presence, by what you think and every intention of your thoughts, you are affecting not only yourself but the world at large. It's from smaller to larger frames of reference. I have just been fortunate enough to have been listened to, because I was just a regular guy in a corner store speaking to 3 and 4 people at a time nearly 40 years ago, and I had no idea it would expand to this level. I just wanted to be able to share. Young people began asking me, could I film you back then, saying these words? And then the rest of it, of course, became the metaphysical underground, or what is known today as the conscious community. But metaphysics is simply changing the language that we have used to define and describe our reality. And we are throwing out everything that those who are calling themselves priests, imams, and so forth, unless they are giving us the universality of all things, within their teachings and removing the names of God as the principal God you should be worshiping. If you're telling me that I'm born afterwards and you're telling me that in my personal experiences that I need to call God Jesus, that means you're giving me something that I am vicariously using and have no proof of, except by what you tell me and what you've conditioned me through your Bible teachings and whatever. I don't have a first-hand experience except vicariously through what you tell me is a Jesus experience. So I could be given, I could be stomping down and going into a fit and a rage and say that I got caught by the Holy Spirit. Well, of course, if that's what I'm defining that action by, then my children looking at that will say, yeah, that's the Holy Spirit. Well, it's not. It's not that. It's what you have been told it is. So in metaphysics, we are now just dispersing and dispensing with all the definitions and descriptions of reality they've given to us, and we are now in an exploration of ourselves inwardly. And then that's where we define God for ourselves. If each one of us are really doing the work of spirit, then each one of us should come up with a name of God that's individual from everybody else.
Mm. Right. Right. Go ahead.
Yes. Doctor, you really expressed my feelings as you portrayed that segment. And I'm thinking about European psychology. And I have a question. Can that metaphysical form, good or bad, that we create, good or bad, can it be corralled by them? And I say them meaning the enemy, whoever he may be, black or white, and give them power from our involvement with our metaphysical self? Can it be
what
stolen?
Gives them power? You made a very good point. What gives them power is because they have forced their perception of the world upon us. It's what you call a hypothetical. The world as we see it today is hypothetical. It's based upon a synchronization of perceptions that they put out there. It's synthetic. The entire world is based upon somebody's idea of what the world is. And the way it becomes real is because you get 1 billion people to reinforce that idea. Then it makes it real. Because we are by nature creators. So we can create the reality. I read somewhere that the truth has this subtle habit of entering where it's not wanted. And those of us who decide to bring it into environments where it's not wanted or has been shunned, it's been suppressed, we tend to get the most resistance until such time as it becomes a matter-of-fact reality. As with all things, as the snake sheds its skin, as the seasons seem to come and go, so too do the lies. They always reveal themselves. If you're a liar and you're not within Ma'at, you will be found out. If it takes a generation, 2 generations, you will be found out. And we as a collective will progress and move forward from that lie to the truth. And if another lie comes in the way and somebody learns to discern how to weave reality and to pervert truth to make it look like truth, that too will right itself. And that's what I, after all these years, have come to understand. That I don't have to fight anything, because if you are going to go contrary to what is balanced, what is righteous, and what is good, that which is the law of polarity, cause and effect, all of that will right you. And you will be righted. Just like our Kemetic ancestors said, there is nothing that is created that will not be redeemed. So when the Christians start talking, you're going to be damned to a hell and high water and forever and ever burned and all that nonsense, that's a lot of crap that the priests put out to the people's heads to make them get in line, toe the line. But our ancient Kemetic masters knew and were wise enough to know that with creation automatically comes redemption. So even Set was redeemed in the end, just like Satan himself will be redeemed.
Yes.
Why? Because Satan is simply just doing a job. That's why they say there's something called the sorrow of Satan. People need to look at that. What's the sorrow of Satan? It's because man just keeps looking to exercise his lower nature that keeps Satan employed. Once man comes out of his madness and believes and understands in himself as a divine being, Satan's job is over. He's redeemed. He no longer has a job. And therefore, he's released from his bondage. People don't understand that concept, and then they will always fight me on that. But it's ridiculous to think that just because, you got a God with a white man with a big beard up there say, if you do like I say, you can come up here and live with me. I don't want to live where you at. I'm having a problem living where you at down here.
I got you, brother. Wow. Well, the tactics that have been used against us historically, and I'm speaking of the Ku Klux Klan, the Black Codes, those type of atrocities, it has created so much fear in us across the board that we have been stagnated on metaphysically coming out of this. But now that we're in the age of Aquarius, I can feel that we're coming out of it, because those tactics don't seem to be as important today as they were in the past. Does that make sense? Or am I still on the right path?
Yeah, well, like I said, universal truth. It's as I'm saying that the one thing that these racists who are propagating racism don't understand is, even though they try to diminish our knowledge of self by keeping our history from us and our children, the one thing that they did not count on was these Gen Xers and Gen Yers coming up behind us. See, these young people, they don't know nothing about the etiquette of Negroes under Jim Crow. They don't know nothing about Jim Crow and how you're supposed to act like as a nigger. You try running up on these young people who don't know nothing about that. You want to act like a fool, they will beat the hell out of you. And so the Klan, and who the hell these Klans think they got these young boys and they got these young people scared, hell no. They don't know nothing about that. You ain't taught them nothing about fear. I'm too busy got them in video games and the fact that they warriors and they could do A, B, and a third, and now you're going to run up on them? See, we were over there back when we were coming up and our great-grandfathers coming up. All they showed us was us down and beaten and chained and hung. These kids ain't seen none of that. Unless we teach it to them. They only know, Thor and, the Xbox and how to kill and the whole night. These kids are the wrong people to mess with. So I'm serving fair warning to the Klan. You better watch who they be messing with. These young people ain't going for that nonsense. And now with Trump in office, I say use the Second Amendment to the fullest now. If there's nothing else that Trump election is going to do for us, is give us access, period.
Well, I understand that the gun permits in Detroit is up 400% since the election. I heard that twice.
See what I mean? See what I mean? Yep. Ain't nobody going to attack America. Ain't nobody going to attack America. Ain't nobody foolish enough to attack America. Want to know why? Because there are hunters here. Yes. Just one state alone, state of Pennsylvania, got over 750,000 hunters. Let me just say that again. The state of Pennsylvania has 750,000 hunters. That's more than the armies of two countries together. And that's just Pennsylvania.
And that's just one state, Pennsylvania.
That's just one state now. We're not talking about these crazy crackers out here that got all these guns that's out here. They don't want to mess with America. So ain't no country going to try to invade America. That'd be stupid. The one thing that's going to happen is it's going to implode from within. That's why they wanted to put Hillary in, so she could start something over here. And now that they got this other crazy cracker in there, he's going to start it from a whole other perspective. But he's too busy lying pockets. What you got is a businessman now in that seat. He over there already got cutting deals with the Saudis and Abu Dhabi. He getting ready to build hotels to put money in his family's pocket. And to start putting money over here, and the people over there in Saudi Arabia to start, not Saudi Arabia, but Abu Dhabi and Dubai and them, where he getting ready to build. They're getting ready to put Dubai over here in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah. And don't forget about Cuba that just opened up.
Yeah. I mean, this guy, if he had nothing else, he's a businessman. She always said we getting ready to go nuclear. She want to go nuclear. Why? Because she's invested in ISIS. Your girl, Hillary, she got more bodies on her than the mafia.
Yeah.
And she's talking about she's the one who financed. She's the one who's been financing her girl, her secretary or whoever that woman was that she just fired or was her sidekick. Her uncle in Saudi Arabia, either an uncle or grandfather or granduncle or somebody, found out that he's the one directly funding ISIS over there in Syria. And they needed to get rid of Syria.
Kuma?
Yeah, Kuma, whatever her name is. But whatever her name is, they were ready to, Hillary had money invested in trying to get a pipeline that he was financing so that he could get a pipeline to the EU. People ain't know that. They didn't know that she was funding ISIS.
No. They sure didn't. They certainly didn't. Wow. Well,
anyway, brother, like I said, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Sometimes you break up.
All right. I'm saying that a lot of us are not going to make it because we got Christianity and love of them so deep in our hearts that they may turn on us, and I'll say us, as right minds. Because I truly am not going to be a supporter of none of that. I'm trying to pull all the energies away from the whole debacle of Trump, Hillary, appointments, all of this mess that's going on. It doesn't concern us. And if we could re-educate ourselves on just one fact, and that is there's two entities. United States and America are two different entities. If you go back to the Constitution, and that's where we're headed, the original organic Constitution, they're only supposed to be 10 miles square in Washington, D.C. Everything else is fraud. Everything else is color of law. And we need to learn that because it's going to be to our benefit as we progress in 2017, 18, and all of that. Because they're going back to the Constitution. That's going to be his toehold, I believe. His meaning Trump. As he goes back, he's going to turn away a lot of his Republican counterparts if there's not money in what he's doing. And you just described that he's already making plans to make more money. So it's going to be something to watch. And I'm glad we have people like yourself that have these powerful minds that can see and teach, and people like Beverly and I who can pass it on. That's what we're going to do, Beverly. You know, we pass on this.
Right.
He's heavyweight. Yes. I appreciate you, Doc. I really do. I've listened to you quite a bit. I've seen you on quite a few of the YouTubes and different DVDs and what have you. And your message is powerful. And it's a privilege to have you on the air. So keep preaching. Keep talking.
Now, Dr. Valentine, you also teach in your school here. You teach metaphysical psychology. Can you kind of tell us what is that? Because we're dealing with European psychology. You know, we're being bombarded from every direction, TV, video games, so can you kind of touch on that?
Yeah, we teach not just metaphysical psychology, but we teach metaphysical psychology, which is where it originated from. And I put the K-E, metaphysical. It's chemet. It's the science that was taught to the Greeks. And the Greeks call it metaphysical, but they cut it short. It's chemet, where their fathers came from. It's metaphysical. So we teach metaphysics and metaphysical psychology based upon what we call the doctrine of the hidden light, which is what they call the mystery system. The doctrine of the hidden light was taught, and the ancestors would initiate their neophytes onto the doctrine of the hidden light. And that would then be teaching them how to rearrange the world and the perception of the world. Psychologically, we have been conditioned through language to describe our world and to just simply see the surface of things. So pretty much everything about third density is just a description of surfaces. So in our metaphysical psychology, we teach how the language may be then turned to define. So instead of it just being a description of surfaces, we teach a definition of essences. So all of the real world essentially comes from the invisible to the visible. And the laws that govern that particular transduction or that transition from the invisible to the laws that govern that have to do with mind and perception. So what we do is, since mind and perception exteriorizes itself as the word, we teach that WORD is the air, fire, water, and earth made flesh. So we are the Word made flesh, and therefore, in the Word do we find. In the Word, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. You have an understanding of that from John 1:1. But what we do is we teach that the present description of your reality has you locked down in a behavioral complex, and you are pretty much a rat in a maze that have been taught where to go get your cheese from mentally, psychologically, how to please those who have created your maze, and how to be rewarded at the end of your run. So in metaphysical psychology, we have our students examine the parameters and the thresholds of their reality, and then break through those parameters to how to break past that so-called glass ceiling that most people like to talk about, but it's a glass ceiling of perception. To teach people how to redefine their world, redefine what you're supposed to act like, and then teach them how to be teachers of this very same science. We're not just teaching students, we're teaching teachers how to teach.
Yeah,